Hey, what's going on? It's Jason Eichmiller from Florida Lifestyle Movement. I own Key Home Lending, and today we're going to talk a little bit about what it's like to move far away from your family and your friends. Personally, we moved a little bit over 3.5 years ago down to Palm Beach County, a little town called Wellington, from the Philadelphia area. And we didn't know a soul. And I guess I kind of wear it as a badge of pride a little bit, because it's a tough thing, and we were very nervous when we made the move, but fortunately, and we found that out once we were here, that we were nervous for really no good reason. And I bet if you're looking to move to Florida, then it's probably the same thing. You have a billion things going through your mind. I can guarantee you're overcomplicating a few things, but I'm going to try to kind of break down what our thoughts were, how our family moved down, and we did it in just a couple months. Again, knowing nobody. Okay, so backstory real quick. I've got a family. I've got 3 kids: Alyssa, Jason, and Molly, and my wife Bridget, and I won't forget the 2 doggies, Belle and Lucky. But anyway, the whole reason for the move, there wasn't one. My kids, they enjoy outdoor activities a lot. They play all sorts of sports. And in the Philly area, we lived in a little town called Ambler, just northwest corner of Philly. In Ambler, the summers were great. The spring, it's okay. I coached a track team, and sometimes it would snow in April. That's not so great. The fall, I feel like every year we almost had an Indian summer, which was wonderful. But then you get into October, November, December, and it's just rainy. Then you have January and February where it's snowy in March. And so the kids couldn't be outside that much. They couldn't be playing sports. They were pretty much cooped up in our house. And if you think about like the pandemic, if you were in Pennsylvania or Maryland or New York, Jersey, or probably a bunch of other states, you had winter, then you had a pandemic, and your kids really couldn't go outside and they couldn't socialize. So, and even if you don't have kids, I mean, the restaurants were shut down for the most part. You couldn't do the same things that you're normally able to do, so you kind of sat as a bump on the log. And I definitely recall having seasonal depression. I don't know if you do, but I sure as heck did. When the days get real short and it's 34 degrees out and rainy, not for me. So that was the whole reason why we moved down to Florida. So what we did, I'll tell you how we picked an area. So we ended up moving to Wellington, which is in Palm Beach County. Now, like I said, I've got 3 kids. Alyssa's in middle school now, but back when we moved, all 3 were in elementary school. And it's funny, in about 20 minutes, I've got to ditch this and go to my son Jason's 5th grade graduation party. Woohoo, it'll be fun. So anyway, we found Wellington because, number one, well, big picture, we realized that, and we just understood that we didn't want to deal with winter if we didn't have to, right? I want my kids, the most important thing, besides school and health, of course, or health and school, the most important thing for me and my wife was that our kids could be outside on the block playing all year round. So that brought us to Palm Beach County. The weather is fantastic here. The winters are extremely mild, and they're actually warmer. Even though we're only about, I think, 180 miles from Orlando, there is a definite temperature difference, a climate difference between Orlando, kind of the Orlando area, and southern Florida, which I'll just put Palm Beach County as southern Florida. One of the reasons for that is the Gulf Stream that's really close to shore around here, but then it kind of goes out into the middle of the ocean. So it kind of the Gulf Stream is the reason why our winters are so warm. It also cools us down a little bit in the summer as well. But I'm not a meteorologist, and we're not here to talk about really weather too much. So we found that we liked Palm Beach County. We did like the climate. And then it was a question of, well, kids are in elementary school. What schools do we send them to? And just like you've probably heard that Florida schools are terrible. Well, here's a shocker. Some Florida schools are terrible. But what we did was we went to a website, I think it's called greatschools.org, and we looked for high-rated elementary, middle, and high schools. So we found those. So we found some in Wellington, we found some in Palm Beach Gardens, going down to Broward, we found some in Parkland. So there are pockets of areas where there's terrific schools. Like our kids, by the way, side note, our kids have done so well at school. It's kind of tough to make friends in the beginning, just like it is anywhere. But the school systems, the teachers the teachers take ownership of these kids, of their development. Even though we were here in COVID times, Palm Beach County schools were amazing. I don't know how you feel about your school system, but I couldn't be happier with the way that my three have learned, and now they're getting better grades. They're growing, they're expanding their kind of their goals and their dreams, and they're learning, and it's just really cool as a dad to kind of look out for that. So we isolated back to Wellington and how we found the place. So first was kind of climate. We wanted to be in Palm Beach County. Second was school systems, and school systems were so important. It's probably way more important than climate, but we found great schools in Wellington. Then we looked at developments that were close to those schools, that were within kind of the range of the school system. So there's two ways that you can really go when you move here. Number one is you can buy or rent in an HOA, and South Florida has amazing HOAs. In fact, the majority, I don't know if it's exactly the majority, but a good number of the homes down here are in HOA communities. The other option is to be outside of an HOA and just a regular house where you don't have a community and you're just on a street. We were in that in Ambler, and we still made friends, and it was great. But what we had to do, my wife and we're pretty social creatures, right? We need friends, and we had nobody. We had absolutely nothing when we moved down. So we had to put a catalyst. We had to jumpstart our friend making. So we chose to buy and to move into an HOA, and instantly, because the HOA, not everybody, but 90% of the kids in the HOA, they all went to the same elementary and middle school, and the schools were actually built for this community. The community I live in, by the way, is called Olympia in Wellington. It has over 1,000 homes. It's absolutely incredible. All sorts of social events. So that was kind of the vibe. That was the crew that we wanted to kind of get to know. So maybe not we did make friends pretty quick, but I'm thinking 3.5 years later, if you fast forward it a little bit, we have more friends in this community than we ever had up in the Ambler, Philly area. And we were just as social back then, but just something about being here in Florida, the majority of the folks that we got to know that live in the community, they're kind of like us. They moved here kind of for better lives. I don't want to be too dramatic, but that's what this is. It really is. For us, it's a better life. They moved down to an HOA because of their kids. They had the exact same reasons or goals as we did when we moved here. So thus, they were kind of, and there's always exceptions to the rule. There's snotty people here, there's snotty people everywhere. But for far and wide, the folks that we've met are all open. They're really fun for the most part. And they were just open to building new relationships and making new friends. And that was something when we lived in Philly, when you meet somebody, they were nice, but they already had their friend groups and their parents were friends with each other. So it was kind of like harder to crack in. Here, if you're a social person, if you're outgoing, if you're very nice, if you got a good family, then it's very, very easy, at least in my humble opinion, to make friends. So that's how we chose our HOA, okay? Now, a couple other things. We wanted to be somewhat close to the beach. I think my wife wanted to be closer to the beach than we are. We're about 25 minutes or so away, but that sure as heck beats Philly. We were like 2 hours, and then you'd have all sorts of traffic to get to the beach. Here, we just head down Southern Boulevard right to Palm Beach, and you can go north for some amazing beaches. You can go south for some cool stuff. So that's pretty easy right there. So that's there's other things to think about, right? What's going to happen with your job? So that's another thing that you really want to consider. Do you work remote? Do you own your own company? Are you going to sell your house when you move from up north or west or wherever you're moving from? Are you going to need a new job down here? Now, I'll give you a little bit of mortgage nerd talk real quick, because that's what I do. I own Key Home Lending. All I do all day is loans, and a good amount of those are helping people relocate from, again, the Northeast, Midwest, a bunch from California, help folks relocate down here. So when you're looking to move your job, if you're going to keep the same employment, normally a mortgage, not all the time, depending on what type of job you have, but normally a mortgage underwriter is probably going to want a letter from your employer just stating that, like, hey, it's okay for Susie to move 1,000 miles down and work remotely. Or if you're going to quit that job and get a new job down here, now you're thinking, well, how can I qualify for a mortgage when I haven't started my new job? Well, fortunately, we have a little bit of luck here. So if you haven't started your new job, but you have an offer, like what I would advise is if you're thinking about moving down here and getting new employment, obviously you do have to have the employment lined up to get a mortgage. So come down here, visit the areas, figure out where you want to live, and then interview for jobs. As soon as you have your job offer, it has to be what we call fully executed. And what that means in English is it has to be an offer, it has to be signed, you have to have a start date, and you have to countersign it. As soon as you have a start date, as long as your start date's within about 60 days, we can actually use that offer letter as your employment. Now, we're always gonna ask for a 2-year history of employment. So we've got to see that, hey, you've had a job over the past couple years, or maybe you were in school, sometimes college or getting a master's. We can actually use that to equate to a job. So if you've been working for a year, but before that you were in school, that's fine. That's 2 years right there. So no biggie there. And again, this is kind of nerd in the weeds talk for folks who are looking to move down and not sure about their employment. So what do we have so far? So we have the climate, we touched on that. We have the job situation. We have how to figure out where you want to move. What else do you want to talk about? Let's talk about family. Let's talk about moving away from family, and let's talk about guilt, right? This is an intangible that nobody else thinks about, but if you're considering moving, if you've told any of your family or friends, you're going to get one of two reactions. Number one is awesome. We get that from some people. Wow, that's so exciting. I'm a little jealous. Keep us posted. Forge the path, and maybe we'll come down too. That is genuine excitement. The other are friends and family who are sometimes a little bit jealous. Sometimes they can't move down because of their jobs. It's definitely a thing. Not everybody can move. Sometimes your job won't let you relocate and you've got a pension or something like that. But the other are folks who are just, wow, you're gonna move 1,000 miles away? Oh, where you don't know anyone? How do you think you're gonna pull that one off? What about your family? Oh, you won't see your nieces and nephews. Meanwhile, a flight to Philadelphia is like normally about $100. So you can, my wife goes back to visit her family all the time. But you had a lot of that. We had guilt trips. We had a lot of negativity, and I'm not saying that to complain. I'm saying that because if we went through it, then that's something that you might be going through as well. And to that negativity, I say it in a nice way. I won't. Screw them. Right? If this is your dream, you are not living for your parents. You're not living for your brothers and sisters. I mean, of course, there's exceptions. Maybe if your folks are sick and you're helping take care of them, that's one thing. But by and large, this is you. Like the way I thought about for myself is I've got 3 kids and a wife. I'm kind of the leader of my own family. My wife would disagree. She really runs the show. But I am charged with giving them the best life that I can possibly give them, right? Not my parents, not my in-laws, not my brother, not my sister-in-laws, none of that. And we love them to death, and we see them every summer, and sometimes they come down to visit. My parents actually moved down from Maryland to Cape Coral about a year after we moved. I helped them with their mortgage. So it's funny, you'll see people follow. We've had friends actually who have moved down to Florida as well. They were kind of empowered by us, like, wow, you guys actually did it. Whoa, okay, we can do it. So just beware, kind of guard your positivity. And if people are giving you, we call it FUD, right? If people are giving you negativity, then think about why they're giving you negativity. Yes, most of the time it does come from a good place. They're gonna miss you. They're a little bit jealous. They're afraid to follow their dreams, and they're a little bit jealous that you're saying, you know what? This is my dream. I'm going to move to Florida. I'm doing this, right? It might be, that's powerful. Sometimes weak people are jealous of power. So anyway, this isn't a psychology lesson or anything, but just saying, like, watch out for it and kind of guard your positivity. You will probably have some negativity along the way from other people, but listen, you are moving for your dream. So I hope this makes sense. I didn't want this to be too long of a video, but I wanted you to kind of see, I'm a real person. I moved here in August of 2019. And if I can do it, I don't have any superpowers. I have 3 kids. I've got, my wife's family is in the Philly and Jersey area, and they've been there, God, I don't know, since the early 1900s. And what do they say in the mafia? Nobody gets out. Nobody escapes alive. But we did escape alive, and we still see them, and we head up to the Jersey Shore in the summer just to spend time with them. But in the meantime, we now have an amazing life. The kids are all happy. They're healthy, thank God, playing sports, doing great in school. We've got a great group of friends. The community is amazing. Joined a boat club. We actually, about 2 months in, we joined a boat club, and we learned how to drive boats. It's awesome going up and down the intercoastal. And believe me, you don't have to be that good to do it. I bumped the thing a billion times. So there's a ton of opportunity out here. There's a ton of great, amazing stuff to do, amazing friends, great people. There's also, yes, property taxes are expensive. Yes, there are hurricanes every summer. So this isn't absolute paradise. It's real life. But I'll tell you this, truthfully, I'm never looking back. Now this is on video, you can tell. I am not going back to the mid-Atlantic. We're all so happy here, and I can't believe I waited so long to move here. So anyway, that's it for me. Again, my name is Jason Eichmiller. I run Key Home Lending and this channel. If you're considering making a move down here, glad to hop on the phone and chat about kind of what your options are. If you've got any doubts, if you have any fears. I will say this, the majority of the fears are right up here. They're right in your head. So we can talk those out. If you want to be introduced, I don't know every realtor in Florida, but certainly in this area, I know a lot of exceptional realtors. Same with Fort Myers, Naples, Cape Coral area, Tampa, Orlando, Jacksonville. There's probably some areas that I missed out on. Miami, I've got some terrific realtors down there, Fort Lauderdale also. So I'm glad to connect you with a realtor, glad to connect you with a homeowner's insurance agent, because you will have to shop homeowners. It is expensive here. It's just like kind of a heads up. So yeah, if you need me, you can reach me at 888-309-9705. Again, 888-309-9705. Give me a shout anytime. You can go to www.keyhome, that's KEYHOME.life. If you want to just put your information in, and we can schedule a time to chat, or you can email me at jason@keyhome.life. All right, that's it for me. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. I am off to Jason's graduate. My son is Jason Jr., by the way, to Jason's 5th grade graduation party. We're gonna eat too much candy, too much chocolate. I'm gonna chase those kids around and talk some trash. All right, guys, take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.